Welcome back, Red Devil sports fans. This is Sammy St. Jean, Sam Glavin, and Dom Fusco bringing you another episode of Speak of the Devils podcast. We got a lot on the docket today for all of you today. We'll have an interview later with Claudia Maira on the women's basketball team. But first, we're going to be talking some NHL today. We haven't done that in a while. Sammy, you got something for us today?
I gotta come up and be honest here. I know the Bruins when it comes to hockey, and that's the main team I watch. I don't get a whole lot of other hockey games on my television or any of the local channels, but I gotta say, watching the Bruins beat the Flyers twice in a row was fantastic. It was a great time. The shootout, I believe, victory, and then the just absolute 6-1 stomping was brought me a little joy, but. To be fair, the Bruins are probably the team from Boston I follow the least.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there, Sammy. But I have been getting into the Flyers a lot more recently. I'm sure Dom has been the same way, as the Flyers were up there in the favorites in terms of the NHL Stanley Cup. I've loved everything that I've seen out of the Flyers so far. I've been obviously very disappointed with the Bruins loss, but maybe Dom can console me a little bit.
Yeah, so I did know that they lost two in a row to the Bruins, but I had no idea what the score, what the context of the game actually was. So thank you, Sammy, for that. Knowing that one of those games was a brutal loss. I actually came prepared with some outlandish hockey news, not dealing with Philadelphia or Boston, believe it or not. So I read on NHL.com that the Golden Knights staff did not coach a game due to COVID-19 precautions. Every single one of their coaches on the coaching staff either had COVID or was in the COVID protocol. So they had their GM come down and coach the game. And they actually almost won. They lost 5-4 and I think a shootout. So, it's things like you never really – these things aren't like new anymore. These weird and outlandish things that like an NBA team playing with 6 or 7 guys, an NHL GM coaching the team, like these things, it's just funny because we're just like, okay, let's just see what kind of weird thing is going to happen tonight. It's like every single night in sports, there's something weird that happens. And so that's definitely weird, is a GM coming down on the ice to coach a game.
Well, there it is. You heard it there from our beat NHL reporter Dom Fusco. I think that I couldn't agree with you more that everything in sports right now is just totally whacked. I mean, you have to take into account the pandemic, and you have to take into account how many players are going to be available. I mean, we saw it with the Sixers. They played a couple weeks ago. They played with 6 guys. One guy, they had to dress 7. Mike Scott, who was injured, so he wouldn't be able to play. It was 6 guys they were playing with. So in terms of the NHL, I mean, the East is looking like it's going to be the one of probably the best division in the NHL. Washington's sitting up top at number 1 at 4-0 with 3 overtime victories. They played all of their wins, almost all of their wins have been overtime victories, which is huge in the NHL. Boston's sitting at number 2 and Philadelphia sitting at number 3. It's going to be a tight race. It's going to be a tight race, no doubt about it. I have had a little bit of a come to reality moment with the Philadelphia Flyers in terms of Carter Hart. I mean, it looks like, we've always thought of him as the golden boy in the NHL so far, but he's had a pretty rough go in the first couple of games that he's played. I mean, giving up 6 goals against Boston is never something you want to do, and I just thank God that there are no fans in the stands right now. So that's really all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Bruins too, like they're moving on from Zdeno Chara for the first time, so their defense is looking very different from it's ever looked before. So as far as being, I wouldn't say the biggest Bruins fan in the world, but just a spectator, a Boston supporter, I really didn't know what to expect from Boston defensively, but so far they've stepped up, they've looked good, and they were able to get an overtime win recently. But the 2 things unrelated to Boston I wanted to bring up: one, the Vegas Knights being the favorite, and the fact that an expansion team can be as dominant as they are. I feel like the NHL has to slightly adjust that, because the Vegas Knights have been in contention for a title ever since they came into the league. And although you don't want to like have them be a bottom feeder as a new team, I feel like having them be a front runner for the first 3-4 years that they're in the league is a little over the top. And the other thing, and this is my favorite thing the NHL has ever done that I've noticed, and I want them to keep this after the season, is the Canada League. One of the leagues or one of the divisions is all Canadian teams, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about the Scotia North League, which is all Canada teams, and they are obviously a lot of great teams. Toronto sitting at number 1 right now at 6-2. Montreal is sitting at 4-0 at number 2. Winnipeg number 3, Edmonton number 4, Vancouver number 5, Calgary number 6, and Ottawa, the Ottawa Senators at number 4. So we will definitely see how the rest of the season goes.
And that was talking hockey.
That was.
One thing too is I really don't want to see the Tampa Bay Lightning win another title. Austin Seabolt got his glory. I don't want to see it again. So we can move on from that one. We got Dickie V his cup. We're good. We can move on.
All right, and we'll be right. Yeah, we'll be right back with Claudia from the women's basketball team.
A quick word from the Grazery, healthy, not boring. And that's not just the motto of the Grazery, but it is also their promise to you. Visit the Grazery today and indulge on fresh Mediterranean-inspired salads, sandwiches, and soups, among other great options on a menu that serves both breakfast and lunch. Eat in or take out. No reservations needed here, so hurry on down to 156 West High Street, just yards from the campus, and enjoy a fresh and feel healthy meal today.
All right, well, welcome back, Red Devil sports fans. This is the coveted interview segment with women's basketball star Claudia Maira. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. I'll kick us off here. So obviously you guys got some disappointing news this year. You weren't able to have a season. Can you kind of take us through what the team felt and what you guys are hoping to do maybe for next year?
Yeah, so that was super disappointing news, especially for me and my other fellow seniors, since we were really hoping for another season. This year was I hope you guys can hear me. My screen froze a little bit. Sorry. No, this year we were really hoping to make it to the Centennial Conference Championship. Last year, or I guess this past season, we made it to the semis, I think, our quarterfinals, and we were so close, but it was hard news to take. We've been doing, virtual like online workouts with each other, challenges, stuff like that, to kind of keep that competitive flow we have. But yeah, it was super hard to hear. But I'm excited for next year for my teammates to see if there is a season possibly. I'll definitely have to go up and visit and catch a game.
So I kind of want to jump a little bit to that most recent season. I know we had that big win against Swarthmore in the first round of the playoffs, and then a very tough, hard-fought battle against Haverford. And although it was a loss, your team at that point was still very young. And even though you do have some seniors graduating that won't get the chance to participate, what kind of team are we, or I should say you, leaving for Dickinson to kind of jump into the reins and try and advance a little further next time?
Yeah, that's a good point. We've always had kind of a young team. I feel like since my freshman year, the first years and sophomores like always made up more than half the team. So that's always been, I guess, an advantage and disadvantage because, we're young, like inexperienced, but also like we have so much room to learn and grow. So I just think this past season as junior captain, it was like super important to me to kind of show the team like what it like leadership and just kind of pass that on to them for future seasons. But yeah, last season we went on that 7-game winning streak. We beat SWAT in the first round of playoffs. Haverford, that was a tough loss, but we were hoping to get them next time. That would have been this season. So, it's hard, but yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, so you guys kind of had a pretty big, I feel like, ascension, at least, being the avid Dickinson women's basketball fan that I am. I saw the ascension and kind of culture change from, in your first year to your sophomore year to your junior year. What took place during that time and where did that ascension come from?
Yeah. So my freshman year coming in was actually kind of weird because we were recruited by Coach Bixby, who's current coach of Johns Hopkins, who's in Centennial. She left, so then Coach Hayes came in. So that was just a big adjustment for us. You know, new coaching style, everything, but I mean, turned out great. The first season that was rough just because it was such an adjustment period, but I think that group, my teammates and I, my class, were so close. The four of us, just we really became like a family, and I think through those years, those past 3 years, that we really got close and just got a good team chemistry and learned how to play with each other. Um, my my sophomore season, I think it was, or maybe freshman year, we came close to playoffs, just missed it, but junior year went well, and that's why we were really hoping for a season senior year, because we really thought we could take it all the way to the championship. But yeah, that 7-game winning streak, I would say we finally just got our confidence. Like something just clicked with us. Um, I really couldn't tell you what it was, but I think everyone was just happy for each other. Like everyone was supportive of each other. Everyone had their confidence, and it was a good season.
Yeah, so pretty much all the athletes that we've had on so far, I've been asking about how they've been getting acquainted with the new freshmen, the incoming freshmen. How are you guys getting acquainted with them, and do you have any advice for them getting through such a weird season like this?
Yeah, so we actually only have one freshman who came in, Lindsay. So it's definitely probably been hard on her because there's only one of her. And I know my freshman year, even without COVID, I was so nervous and so scared, but I had 5 other girls with me. So we've been in close contact with her. We actually, some of the team, like half of us, had like a beach house for like a week and a half down by the shore. So we got to finally like meet her in person. We've met her at games. She came to a game before, but it was super fun to actually like meet her and just talk with her, get to know her. I'm sad that I won't ever get to play with her, but I know that the juniors and sophomores will teach her well. But I've just been telling like everyone, like Dom, I'm sure you know, like a senior, like it goes by so fast. Like I remember like my first scrimmage freshman year, so it's definitely goes by way too fast.
Yeah, so one thing I want to talk again a little bit about that season, and one thing I noticed a lot, especially from broadcasting all your games, is that the person who's going to come out and leading score or kind of dominate the game or make the biggest impact on the game was different every single game. Like it could have been anybody that game, whether it was Maeda, whether it was Catalino, whether it was you, whether it was even Kate Montgomery in her freshman year. So
Yeah.
what was it like to play on a team where you knew anyone could step up, and what kind of confidence do you think that gives this team when it could have been this season and even just next season, going into it?
Yeah, that's what's so great about our team, I think, is that we're so like versatile, and like you really don't know who's just gonna like go off that game. And that's a good thing because the other teams, like, they don't really know what to expect. Like we know Emily's got a great 3-point shot. Like we know Hallie's fast and can take it to the basket, but like everyone just has so many different skills that it's just so good for us. But there was something else you said that I wanted to mention. I completely forgot. Yeah, no, I don't remember.
It's okay.
Yeah, you mentioned that you guys were able to get together once this semester, and you had like these competitions within your team, and for football we had that as well. We weren't able to get together, obviously 90 guys, but
Yeah.
it's great that you guys were able to do that. How did you guys like stay motivated and find that motivation to keep going even when there was just so much uncertainty, and obviously eventually the season ended up not taking place, but what kept you guys going?
Yeah, so I think even though us seniors knew that there was a possibility that we could just never play college basketball again, we wanted to like leave our mark and leave something with the underclassmen. So all of us just want the best for each other. So we're all very competitive to a point where like we want our teammates to do better than us because then it'll drive us to do better. So just like even our like 30-minute like ball handling Zoom workouts, like we want to push ourselves to be better because it'll just make our team and like DCWB better overall.
So you guys have a couple seniors graduating this year. You were obviously one of the captains for this season, and then I was wondering if you had anybody in mind that you think could take up the leadership role as maybe a captain or maybe just a strong voice on the team for the next couple of years.
Yeah. So yeah, last season, Emily Padalino, Hannah Heinrich, and I were captains. But even though we have that role, honestly, everyone on the team has a voice and shows leadership even when they don't know it. It does come with a lot of responsibility because there are so many things like off the court that also apply to being a captain. But Jen Kremp has definitely really like just stood out to me. Even when like we could be down or we're having a super bad practice or just like kind of like having a bad game, like she's always speaking, always like trying to get people pumped up. Same thing with Kate Montgomery, actually. She had a good freshman year last year. And even as a freshman, usually freshmen come in like a little timid, maybe like don't want to step on the seniors' toes. But Kate, she really stood out. And I think she has a very like good presence. Like she always just makes people laugh and smile. And that's definitely something you need, especially in sports, because I know I can get like a little angry out there. And you always just need that person that will kind of calm you down and, you know, make you remember like what you're doing, like why you're here and that, you know, you're good at it.
So this is my kind of last question. This is something that's always fun to ask anyone at Dickinson, but mostly for a senior. And I kind of want to ask you what it means to, you know, go to Dickinson, to wear the red, to have that Dickinson name across your chest as someone who's kind of leave that behind her now. But what does it mean to you, and what do you hope your teammates kind of have that same meaning?
Yeah. To go to Dickinson, honestly, it means more than I could describe. Like it's not just playing a sport, it's not just, you know, getting my degree to go on and do other things, but it really is a family. And I love how small it is. Like at first I was like, wow, Dickinson's like such a small school, but it really, I've made like the bestest of friends like I'll have for life. And my team, it's so sad to think about that I'm leaving because I love each and every one of them, but I'm super proud to be able to wear Dickinson across my chest every time I, you know, put on a jersey or I go out on the court, even in practice. Like I always just think how grateful I am and appreciative I am to be there. And it means more than you, because like when you're out on that court, obviously, you know, I'm out there, I'm me, I'm representing myself, but also I'm representing my team, my coach, my family. So it's definitely been a great 4 years. I'm gonna miss it a lot.
My last question for you is just what's next? You know, do you have plans for upon graduation, or do you have any plans in the works? And you know, how do you plan to kind of stay involved with Dickinson basketball going forward?
Yeah, so actually I will be going to graduate school at Augusta University. I live in Georgia. I'm a Jersey girl at heart. I've lived there my whole life, but we moved to Georgia once I graduated high school. So I'll be attending the physician assistant program. I'll be class of 2023, which is so crazy to think about, but I'm super stoked for that. That's something I've known I wanted to do my whole life, is become a PA. So I'm really excited for that. And I'm definitely going to make sure I stay connected with the team. I'm best friends with each and every one of them, to the freshmen, to my class. Also, the men's and women's team kind of have like a great network. Like it's called Friends of Red Devil Basketball, something like that. But every once in a while we go on a Zoom call and alumni from like class of 1980 are on there. And it's just a great way to network and connect, because I remember I was on one and they just said like anyone interested in the medical field and in business, and they just connect you with different people, you know, to get yourself out there. So it's definitely a really good way to stay connected with all of Dickinson basketball.
That's great. You gotta love the Red Devil community. I know as a legacy, I can speak to that. It's just fantastic. Claudia, thanks so much for coming on today, and good luck with graduate school. Sucks that we won't be able to see you on the court one last time, but I'm sure you're gonna make the best of it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
And we are back after the interview with Claudia Maira, but another quick word from the Grazery. Complex is something no coach or athlete wants to deal with, which is why every team aims to keep schemes and execution simple, so success is easy to achieve. That's the game plan used by the Grazery right here in Carlisle. Simple ingredients that are fresh, healthy, and above all, delicious. Healthy, not boring food that is not just good, but good for you. Made from only the healthiest and simple ingredients. So come in today, enjoy a great meal made simple at the Grazery, located at 156 West High Street, Carlisle, PA, and that is the first time I've gotten through that without stuttering, and I am proud.
Great stuff, Sammy. Big thank you to Claudia for joining us on the interview. Welcome back, Red Devil sports fans. For our top five segment this time around, we're going to be going with top 5 athletes that we would like to have for dinner who are dead or alive. Sammy, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, quick shout out, Dom. This was a fantastic list idea. Easily the hardest one I've had to fill out, and I had a good time making this one. So my number 5 is gonna be Jason Varitek. He's just the cap for as far as Boston baseball goes, and he helped revive the Red Sox team. And I just kind of I would want to talk to him about the Red Sox rivalry during that era, which was probably the greatest point it was, at least during my lifetime.
Dom, go ahead.
I will go number 5 with Pat Tillman, who was the Arizona drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. Just a beast of a safety, and gave it all up to serve our country. And tragically passed away in Afghanistan in 2004. Just would love to pick his brain and just see why would you give up all the money and fame to serve your country and something greater than yourself. So he's for sure on my list.
Yeah, that's definitely tough to follow. But I'm gonna be going with I'm gonna go early with the Philadelphia sports references here, and I'm gonna go with Brian Dawkins at number 5. He is not the last person on this list in terms of Philly sports, but Brian Dawkins just a huge influence in the city of Philadelphia, and still is today. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, and he's probably my favorite Eagle of all time, and just an animal. I try and watch Brian Dawkins highlights at least once every 2 weeks, just because it just gets me amped. So I'm going with Brian Dawkins at number 5.
As long as Carson Wentz isn't on your list, I'll be all right.
Hey, he's not on the list. So everybody relax.
All right. So number 4 is Freddie Freeman. He is my current favorite player in the MLB. He is notoriously the nicest guy in the league, and I don't know. He's just someone who I kind of no reason, out of absolutely nowhere, just absolutely loved watching for the last couple of years, and it's become my favorite player in the current league. And yeah.
Got you. So my number 4 is Serena Williams. Just the sheer dominance she has displayed year after year after year, going away, having a child, coming back, all the ups and downs she's had to go through, and being not just one of the greatest female athletes of all time, but one of the greatest athletes the world's ever known. And so, yeah, Serena Williams is my number 4.
That's a great pick. I'm going to be going with at my number 4, Jim Craig, the goalie for the 1980 Olympic hockey team that beat the Soviet Union in the semifinals in the 80 Olympics. That was just absolutely unreal. One of my favorite movies of all time is Miracle with Kurt Russell. So I mean, I would love to pick his brain about about being a bunch of college kids going up against the best team in the world at the time and just taking it to them after getting crushed by them in the preliminary rounds. I would just love to hear firsthand of how that happened.
So my number 3 is, again, back to baseball, and a very baseball heavy list for me. My number 3 is Troy Tulowitzki. And Troy Tulowitzki, still to this day, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. And I don't think he's a Hall of Fame player or anything like that. But for ever since I can remember when he was in the league, he was just someone I would gravitate towards watching. And I actually got to see him play in spring training against someone else who I truly enjoyed watching, which is Andrew McCutchen. And I got to watch them both in the first inning of the spring training game go yard back to back in back to back half innings, and so that's a memory I have for a while. But Troy Tulowitzki, number 3.
My number 3 is the late great Kobe Bryant, and being one of my favorite athletes growing up. He grew up about 20 minutes from where I live. Just the impact that he had on people and the way people talk about him, the way that he would get into the gym at 3 a.m. and put in hours of work before anyone even showed up. Just that's the kind of legacy I strive to leave. Is and it's like kind of like how do you want to be remembered? And if there's anyone who lived their life with no regrets and left a legacy, it's for sure Kobe.
No question. That's a great pick. I'm going to go with my number 3, Jackie Robinson. Obviously changed the face of the game, changed the face of the game that I love the most. And I don't really know what I would do, to be honest, if I sat down and had dinner with him, because I wouldn't really know where to start. But I definitely would want to have that opportunity, because he's just there's really no words for it. I mean, everybody knows Jackie Robinson is probably one of the biggest faces in all of baseball right now, one of the biggest historical figures. So Jackie Robinson is my number 3.
Yeah. So my number 2, and we're going away from baseball now and into basketball, and I'm going to go with Larry Bird. So Larry Bird, a Boston sports icon, a Boston Celtics icon, and arguably close to the Mount Rushmore of the NBA. But he just grew up in a really competitive era for basketball, a real successful one for the Celtics, and I want to know what it was like to play against Magic. And I want to talk about his notorious trash talk.
My number 2 is Jackie Robinson. So following up all what Sam said right there, and yes, I did throw a baseball player on my list. Just it's hard to pick people who and point people out who have had to overcome more adversity than Jackie Robinson. So just hearing about the era that he grew up in and the way things were back then, and how he was able to overcome that. Yeah, like Sam said, there's not much else to be said, but Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go a little bit outside of the box here for my number 2. Dom probably knows who this is, but Sammy might not. I'm going to go with Ike Reese, former linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles and a sports talk radio host for 94 WIP, which is the local station for Philadelphia sports radio. He's in the field that I want to be in, and I want to pick his brain, obviously, about playing for the Eagles. But he's a fantastic radio show host, and I definitely would want to sit down. He's a great personality. He's, from what I've heard, really easy to talk to. So I would definitely want to have dinner with Ike Reese.
For honorable mention, and I had a very tough time making this list, and so I threw 2 that I'll list really quick on my honorable mention. 1, Nomar Garciaparra, Red Sox guy who was super efficient when he played, but didn't play all that long. But he was actually the first jersey I had as a kid, and his name didn't really fit across my back all that well. And the second one is Brian Scalabrine. 1, because he's hilarious. He broadcast for the Celtics and he won a title completely without doing anything for the most part. And I want to just know what that was like. So yeah, Brian Scalabrine and Garciaparra.
Great.
Those are your honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Okay. My honorable mention is Chad Ochocinco, or Chad Johnson, whatever you want to call him. He's always been, when he was in the league, first of all, he was just an insane player. Sweet feet don't eat. He would eat McDonald's for pretty much every meal. He was one of the most elite trash talkers. One of the funniest, if not the funniest, mic'd up player in NFL history. And I think he would just bring a lot of flavor to the table.
That's great stuff. I love watching those. I feel like every week I'm seeing a Chad Ochocinco highlight of trash talking on ESPN or on the NFL or something.
It's timeless.
Yeah, it's so funny. My honorable mention is going to be Lindsey Vonn, the Olympic skier. I've always when I was younger, when she was killing it in the Olympics and stuff, I had a huge crush on her, and I would love to sit down and have dinner with Lindsey Vonn and talk about just learn a little bit more about skiing, because I'm a snowboarder, and I would just love to have dinner with Lindsey Vonn. She's a big crush of mine.
She almost made my list too as well. It's a good pick.
Yeah.
I actually almost put Sabrina Ionesco on my list, but
There you go.
she was close to the honorable mention for me. But my number one, and this probably comes as no surprise, Peyton Manning. And it's the reason I put the jersey behind me. I try to do that when we include someone when we talk that I have a jersey of, but he is my favorite athlete of all time. He's the sheriff, Mr. Omaha. He is someone who, when you watch football, he just makes you think, like, how does he know? Like, I just want to pick his brain and understand football better. I want to see, or like, understand football through his eyes, through his brain, and just understand, like, what it was like playing for the Colts, what it was like working with Tony Dungy, playing with wide receivers like Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. So, yeah, definitely Peyton Manning at number one, and honestly, it wasn't even that close.
Okay, so my number one, this was a tough one for me, and like the number one, but it became obvious once I kind of recognized, kind of the context of what this dinner party was going to be, and in my head at least, and that is Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali. He was so much more than just an athlete. He was, a philanthropist, a trendsetter. He was one of those guys, like when he spoke, you listened. He inspired. He still inspires today. Just like I talked about, leaving your mark, like Kobe Bryant. Like there are very few people, Muhammad Ali, Kobe Bryant, people like that, who are able to, their lessons and their wisdom will be carried on for generations. So Muhammad Ali is my number one.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I'm gonna go with for my number one. Always got to round it out with a Philadelphia athlete on my top five lists, especially at number one. I'm gonna go with Mike Schmidt. I think that he's a former third baseman for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's got a World Series. I mean, he's widely considered one of the best third basemen of all time. Great with the bat, great with the glove, and I'll never forget listening to Harry Callis's, obviously not live, but listening to Harry Callis's call of his 500th home run. So that was I can't get the audio out of my head. So Mike Schmidt, and I would just love to sit down and just talk baseball with him. I think it would be great. And I've heard him on the radio a lot, and he sounds like just a really fun, personable guy, very witty. So I think we'd have a good time.
I'll say me and Dom went very different routes with our list.
Yeah, you guys did. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this edition of Speak of the Devils podcast. Big shout out to the Grazery, and big shout out to Justin and all of you Red Devils out there. Roll Devs.
Let us know whose dinner party you would want to go to.
That's right.
I know I'm losing this one because mine was so personal. All right. Thank you.